Hey, Michael.
Hey, Chris.
So who do we have on the episode of You Sound Familiar today?
Well, today we have the voice of Tiger Claw in the new Ninja Turtles and Foop in Fairly Odd Parents, Mr. Eric Bauza.
Well, hello, Eric. How are you doing?
Well, I would be doing better, Earth creature. However, your podcast is obstructing my view of Venus.
Hey, wait a minute.
So,
We would hope. Thank you to everyone. So You Sound Familiar, the podcast with me, Aficionados Chris, my good friend Michael Edwards, otherwise known as Skeleton King 1234. And today's special guest is Paul Giamatti and Precious Extraordinaire and just overall handsome, wonderful guy, Eric Bauza.
hey, insert fake applause here.
Insert
guys.
Bowser pun here.
Yeah, I know. I can't get enough of those. But I can't believe I've never. I was talking about how flattered and honored I am again to be back on your show on new
We're glad
podcast.
we
new
wanted
format.
you. That we said this to Quentin as well. Is that when we were starting the new one, we said we got to get two specific people back. We got to get Quentin. We got to get Eric. These are
And
the two
Matt.
that
Wow.
we must get back. Well, Matt was on the list, but dude, let's be honest, we favor Quentin and Eric.
For me, I'm honored because I know how much you guys love animation and love the people that make it happen, but also understand the process that goes into it. And you guys have taken that interest and are now making your own content.
Thank you. We'll slip you $20 later.
No, I'm absolutely serious. Like, I wish I had this kind of technology when I was growing up. You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't anything like how it is these days. As far as like, oh man, like there's an interest that you might have, and there's a whole world of people that want to celebrate that interest. And
Don't we know?
you know, I come from the world of taking my audio cassette recorder and putting it up to my TV screen and recording Saturday morning theme songs so I could listen to them over and over again.
I actually did the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, the Super Dave Osborne show on Fox, Bobby's World, Eek the Cat. I mean, all the 90s cartoons I was absolutely obsessed with. And, you know, I mean, I wish I could have talked to somebody about it the way we talk about it on your podcast.
Well, I mean, that's the great thing about the internet, is that you can meet people who you never, like, feeling like an outcast back in, at least for all three of us, the 90s, but then going on the internet and find out, or in my case when I met Michael, you like voice actors too? Or more importantly,
Yeah.
oh my God, you know what the hell Super Robot Monkey Team is?
See, here's the thing.
Think about
I was that weird kid that would always sit at the end of credits for movies, and I would always try to pick out everybody there.
Nice. Yeah, exactly, right? Or when you would watch something, a certain note, someone would, would strike a chord in your ear and be like, oh my God, that's totally so-and-so, like.
Yeah.
I remember feeling that way when I watched Space Jam. It was kind of like, oh man, like, I was always a big Billy West fan, and then when he starts doing Bugs Bunny, and then furthermore rapping on the Space Jam soundtrack, who does that? Nobody else that I know, but Billy West could do something like that.
And you actually do a fairly good Bugs Bunny impression, I would say.
Bugs is it's still like everyone likes to think that they can do a good one because it's one of those characters that is like the holy grail of cartoon voices. But I feel like, there's always room for improvement. And I actually haven't watched, and I don't know if it's because, my amazingly talented girlfriend is an animation, a Warner Brothers animation producer. It's kind of like, it's hard to like sit down and enjoy it now with someone that's such an expert that, will analyze cartoons with me. It's kind of funny. We used to do it all the time. Oh yeah, of course. I'm extremely lucky, but it's kind of funny because like I wish I could take the pure technicality out of it and just watch it again for the pure joy, like I did when I was a kid, you know. But it's that kind of love that brought me to where I am now. I mean, I think there's a reason why you guys are doing this show is because you love animation so much, and there's a reason why I work in cartoons is because I love animation so much. I mean, my favorite website is Behind the Voice. Voice
Behind the Voice Actors. Without that site, I like it was weird because back when I was a kid, I had to just go by memory as to who played what, and it'd be crazy when I tried to tell my friends so and so does this voice, but they also do that voice. What? No way. But now with sites like Behind the Voice Actors, like, see. They do.
It's like one of my. It's. I go to that website literally every single day.
I do too.
Yeah.
I
love that
really.
site.
They've helped with these podcasts as well as far as advertising and exposure. I'd say.
Yeah.
So good to shout them out. They're a great site.
I love the site because there's nothing to it other than hey, this is the people's work, and there's nothing that's been changed. There's no like. One's better than the other. It's kind of just like, hey, these are all the people that have done the work, and let the work speak for itself. And I'm honored to be featured on that site along with a lot of my friends and a lot of your friends, a lot of guests of your shows. So it's kind of cool. I always like give them props, and I think it's funny because I don't think a lot of the heavy hitters were aware of the site, or maybe they were, but as soon as they started doing the awards, you know, like the recognized awards, people started really paying attention to that site. But like people started really paying attention to that site.
And everyone should really. It's a great site. And bringing that full circle is going on with this being an interview, of course, but I mean. Eric's just too entertaining to single to just questions. But one thing I don't think a lot of people realize is that you actually didn't start as a voice actor. You were actually a layout artist in animation. So when you say things like, I love animation, you really mean it.
Well, you know, it's kind of a weird, backwards way I got into being able to do voices is because I never really... as opposed to a lot of my colleagues out there who are actual, real, learned actors, like they actually took acting and drama in school. I never, unfortunately, I wish I had that opportunity. I never thought like, oh well, I have to take drama to do voice acting. But it certainly would have prepared me more. I kind of like jumped into it not knowing how to swim. You know, like I learned voice acting the hard way, but I got my start. You're right, in animation as an artist. So all the people that I met that were also artists and creators knew that I wanted to do voices and kind of said, "Well, why don't you do voices for my pilot?" You know. And I took those opportunities, and I guess it worked out.
I think because what makes that interesting is I've heard the story of how Steve Bloom became a voice actor was that he was just discovered in the mail room doing weird voices. Like that's what the
really?
Yeah, that's what I don't know how factual that statement is, but there are always those weird stories of discovering the talent in the most unusual place. So how is it that you, like, with the whole pilots and everything, because the first time I ever discovered you, I think it's safe to say for most people, was you took over the role of Stimpy in the ill-fabled, I guess, adult party cartoon. No disrespect, but, you know.
None taken, because I think a lot of us that worked on it, again, grew up watching it. So it was kind of like one of those things where we're like, never, you know, even with John K. back at the helm, I also feel like, you know, I think a lot of the reason why the original Ren and Stimpy worked so well and I'll say it in every interview I've ever asked about Ren and Stimpy, is because a lot of the people that worked on it were all like-minded, same-age colleague, individuals that they all were sick of working on the 70s and 80s and 90s cartoons. They wanted to make something that was groundbreaking to them, like the Looney Tunes was. You obviously know, as a fan of animation, Ren and Stimpy was heavily inspired by old Warner Brothers, old Hanna-Barbera cartoons. And
a little bit of Three Stooges in there as well.
Three Stooges, Roger Ramjet, a lot of those cartoons.
Oh my God, Roger Ramjet.
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of those cartoons, they were made for pure entertainment, and to a degree for adults. It wasn't necessarily a Saturday morning thing. It was these might be shown in theaters, or they're definitely still in the animated sitcom vibe.
Yeah.
There are a lot of tongue-in-cheek jokes in there that were definitely aimed at adults, but slap on some cartoony colors on it and people think it's for kids. But Ren and Stimpy was like that, and I think that was a revolution, and I hate to say it, but it's after that generation of Spunko, every year that passed, it was more like a teacher-student situation. John really, inspires a lot of young artists to come seek him out and try to learn from him. I was one of them. And, but, things come and go, and a lot of the people that ended up leaving the studio when there was no more work are now the people that are making shows, at Disney, at Nickelodeon, at Cartoon Network.
Well, it was the same with the original, because John came from The New Adventures of Mighty Mouse by Ralph Bakshi.
Yeah,
and quite
exactly.
a lot of people, big people in the animation industry, started on that show. Bruce Timm.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Bruce Timm was on it.
Eddie Fitzgerald.
Yes, Brad Bird, Andrew Stanton. God, so many, and they went on to pioneer animation, which is really all Ralph Bakshi wanted. But I am glad, as a fan of Ren and Stimpy, that you kind of essentially agree that going in the whole extreme adult content wasn't really the right idea. But to be fair, even John Kane actually been dissatisfied with the results.
I mean, I think that it's kind of one of those things where we're also entering that age of 90s was pure gross out humor, and I mean, it was total There's Something About Mary, all those movies, the Farrelly Brothers movies, and then suddenly a show like Jackass comes along, where they're doing such extreme stuff that even a cartoon like Ren and Stimpy is Steve-O just farted in someone's face, and that's a real human. It's kind of hard to top that with a cartoon. And I think Ren and Stimpy was the right place, the right time. People were not expecting it. And then years later, after the Jackass renaissance, you're going to say, well, we're making Ren and Stimpy for adults. It's kind of well, I don't know. I mean, obviously it was kind of not as embraced as the original Ren and Stimpy was.
I actually remember, because you'll probably know better than me, when it first debuted on Spike. I want to say I was about 12 years old when it came out. And I remember I was at my grandma's. I was just flipping through channels, and all of a sudden I see the Ren and Stimpy opening. I go, "Oh my God, I love Ren and Stimpy! I didn't know it was still playing." And then all of a sudden, a title card comes up after it says "Adult Party Cartoon," and I go, "Huh?" And I'm 20, I want to say 15 minutes of the episode, and it was the debut, the Ren Seeks Help one. And I was watching it, and they were doing all these horrific things. It's this isn't the Ren and Stimpy I remember.
Well, I apologize, and send me all
That's not your fault, and I give you respect in you did a damn good Stimpy, because apparently Billy didn't want to be involved.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell the difference when it came out. I thought it was Billy. So
it's really funny. A a lot of people had more complaints about John's voice, and he was the original Ren.
He was the original Ren. What the hell?
He got much older, and I actually didn't know this. I believe they did like the Daffy Duck treatment on his voice, where they kind of sped it up back in the day.
Did they?
Yeah, as Ren. It was kind of it was slightly manipulated, like how they did. You know how Daffy Duck is just Sylvester but sped up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I think Tweety's the same, isn't it? Just Mel Blanc sped up.
Oh yeah, it was incredibly sped up.
Yeah.
For the
most, not uncommon.
Porky to a degree. Porky as well to a degree. But I believe Ren was sort of sped up. But anyways, that role became available. And believe me, as soon as I knew that the show was even being made, I was hired as a production manager, just to be on the staff. And my only question was, in my head, is Billy West coming back to do Stimpy? Because that would be the ultimate reunion. And I don't know, what went down between, Billy
they had
and
some
John.
kind of falling out on the Howard Stern show many years ago.
But yeah, it's like one of those things for me, that was a war that happened when I was 12. You know what I mean? It was a war that happened between the two of them way before I got involved with the studio. And, it's unfortunate that these things happen, because I have much respect for them both, because as artists and voice actors, they created a show, and whether or not they were close, I don't know their relationship, but I just know I had a very influence from both of them. And I'm friends with both of them still. Billy West was at my birthday party last year, for crying out loud. It's like one of those things where I'm just I still can't believe, I get to work. That's the fanboy in me coming out, but I can't believe I get to work with people who I admire very much. And
did he at your birthday? Did he go, "Happy birthday, Eric"?
Yeah, no, it's funny because we don't really talk about it, because it's not my place to talk to him about stuff that he doesn't. That was a lifetime ago for him, But he knows how much respect I have for him, and that was just one of those things. So this is what happened. I'm pretty sure it might be public knowledge or not that he was offered the job, but at the time was extremely busy on a show called Futurama.
That little show that went nowhere?
Who cares about that show?
Yeah, I don't know if you heard about that show, but
I've only watched 9 seasons.
I only watched every episode 4 times.
4 million times. I think we can all say that we have. But
we're nerds. We kind of owe ourselves to Futurama.
Yeah, and he was kind of I did Ren and Stimpy when it was popular. Why would I need to do it again? And it just didn't work out. So now we're making this new Ren and Stimpy, and as far as I'm concerned, the only guy that could do the voice is not available, and I was there as a production manager, and John made it very clear that he didn't want me doing voices on the show. He's like, I just want you to do production stuff. Don't think you're going to be doing voices. And I was like, that's cool. That's fine. And I still worked on the show, and now he had auditioned somebody else. They hired somebody else, and that didn't work out. So now there's not only is Billy not coming back, the replacement kind of just didn't work. And John was actually thinking of making the character mute. He's like, why don't we just make him not talk?
Oh, my God, that would have been horrible.
And I was like, are you insane? That's crazy. That's crazy, man.
That pregnancy episode would have been a lot different.
The camaraderie would have been... the whole chemistry would have been destroyed.
Oh, yeah. It would have been a completely different show. And to be perfectly honest, it already was a different show by that point.
That's true.
So, anything could have gone however they wanted it. So I was like, look, I'm here. why don't you let me try? And then they let me try, and then it ended up being there. And for me, I would equate it to the equivalent of anyone doing like Bugs Bunny, like Billy West doing Bugs Bunny and me doing Stimpy. For me, it's like an honor, because Stimpy for me is like one of the greatest characters ever created in animation history. You know, Ren and Stimpy continually make those lists they do every year, like the top 50 cartoon characters that you love. And to know that I got a chance to, you know, be a part of any of that legacy is an honor. And, you know, that's all I could ever say about that situation, is like completely honored.
I completely agree with the amount of respect that Ren and Stimpy gets. It's always weird to me that I was alive when they were just this weird new idea. Now they're considered essentially classic characters.
Oh, isn't that funny? It just makes me feel old.
Me feel old and crouchy.
Yeah.
I have a question too. So.
Yes, because I'm hogging him. Please have some Eric time.
I have to have some time with them.
Hey, you guys, this is your show, so go let it rip. What question?
Speaking of classic characters, because you were in DuckTales Remastered, you played Gizmo Duck or Finton Crack Show, and
Blatherskites.
But yes. I was curious. I don't know if you're allowed to say this, but I was curious because they've announced a remake is being made, and I was wondering if you can neither confirm nor deny if you were actually going to be on the show.
Well, I mean, so it's public knowledge that there is a remake being made, yes?
Yeah, and we know that none of the original cast is returning, so.
I know, it's such a weird thing. I can neither confirm nor deny that I'm on the new Powerpuff Girls right now. But I think it's such a strange thing, because I've met, well, I am now confirming that I've done a voice on the new Powerpuff Girls, but not any new, not any old characters that have been done. But I think it's so strange that, I mean, who knows, again, what the story lies behind these situations where you have a show, it has a built-in audience, you have the girls that did the show and are still alive and well, but for whatever reason, I guess, you know, you just can't have them back on the show. It's another debate that will go on. And again, it's like, it's none of my business, those decisions, because that's the call of Cartoon Network and that's the call of the producers that are on the show. I'm sure at some point someone said, we have to get them back. But for whatever reason, it's like when they made that new Nightmare on Elm Street and they decided not to have Robert Englund back as Freddy Krueger. It's like, it's crazy, but it still gets made, people still watch it, and it still reminds you why you love the show so much or why you like that property so much. And it's weird. I did meet the new girls, though, and they're really nice, and they're very sweet, and, you know, they're capable. They're good actors.
I mean, I'm afraid they're going to get eaten alive. That's the thing I'm more afraid of.
That's just the internet. That's just for bitching anonymously.
Yeah, I mean, so far there hasn't really been a lot of drama. I mean, there was a little bit of Twitter. You know, people were original cast members had made it clear on Twitter, like, we're not involved, and, you know, best of luck to the new girls. But, you know, it's bittersweet because, you know,
is that
shows
a pun for the Powerpuff Girls?
Yeah, it's crazy because it's like we're now at a point where even the cartoons that they're remaking are like taboo. It's like, whoa, well, you know, do we have to remake this? We have reruns. Nickelodeon, I think, is doing a remake on or specials, right, on a bunch of new old ideas for a new generation.
They're doing a Hey Arnold TV movie. That's all I know.
And there's been rumors floating around recently that they might be making like a Nicktoons crossover film.
Well, that's been floating around for a while. I reported back on that. God, I think last year.
I think the best thing that they are doing is just rerunning the old shows on a different channel, because it's like they own the property, they they don't have to make any new stuff, and it still is the original. If you are going to do specials, I think if I were in the driver's seat, involve as much as possible the people that were involved with the original, because it's like, the new X-Files. How insane would it have been if they cast like teenagers to play Mulder and Scully? It would have been like crazy, right? I love the new X-Files because they kind of just make fun of like modern times. Every 5 minutes,
I have to see the new X-Files because I'm a big fan.
Every 5 minutes, Scully goes, "Mulder, the internet's bad for you," and I like laugh because they're making fun of the internet. It's such an old. It's like, oh, get off of Facebook, Scully. It's like so funny. It's like, oh my god. But they're so good. They're still good together. I love the show. And
that was always one of the strongest points of the X-Files was their chemistry.
Yeah. Oh, and and like Ash versus Evil Dead. You know what I mean? Like how crazy would that have been if they had cast a new Ash? Or like the first episode was insane. Like, because Sam Raimi directed the first episode, right?
Yes, I believe he did.
He directed the first one, and it was like, oh my god, this is like. Remember, they were toying with the idea of Ash versus Freddy versus Jason for the longest time.
Yeah, I think they did that as a comic once, if my memory serves well.
They did. Wow.
Yeah, I believe they did that as a comic series.
I didn't know that.
Oh, well, check your local comic book store. Maybe they have something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the idea. I'm a sucker for the Brady Bunch movie was like one of those weird first versions of like, here's an old sitcom, or no one really. I wouldn't say no one cares about the Brady Bunch because it's like an American staple, but it's one of those ones where they did cast modern actors, and it worked. It was like it worked well enough for them to make a very Brady sequel.
I am so glad you even mentioned that movie because that is an underappreciated film.
Oh yeah, it's just such a wacky thing where you take. It's one of those ideas that it's okay to make fun of it, and no one would ever think to make fun of the Brady Bunch. But here they are, like making weird, like Mike and Dan Brady jokes. Yeah, I thought it was a perfect situation and a perfect. And here's why it worked too, because they still included part of the original, making the new female Ghostbusters. They still make an effort to reach out to like Dan Aykroyd or Bill Murray to appear in it, because they're not taking it and saying, "Hey, we changed it, and this is why it's going to be better." It's like we're paying an homage to what you guys made, and thank you. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like
it's more of like an honorary thing, really, to have them involved.
Yeah.
It's like 21 Jump Street, where they actually got Johnny Depp and Peter DeLuise, I think it is, his original cast member. Forgive me, but like it's that sort of respectable badge of honor to be like, see, look, they're in on it.
Like, look at Ninja Turtles. Sean Astin, Greg Sipes, Jason Biggs / Green, and they have Rob Paulson, who was one of the Turtles. That is the best move Nickelodeon could have ever made. Obviously, they may not be able to get all the original Turtles in, and it could have worked or it could not have worked, but the fact that you have someone like Rob Paulson on there to represent the original cast is like the best idea you could ever have, because you have guys like me and you guys that are fans of the original and grew up watching the original and know that, oh my God, of course they have Rob Paulson on here. He was not only was he a big part of the 80s and 90s animation, but he's still working on shows today. You know what I mean? Like, he's still relevant to people making animation. I'm pretty sure he has a voodoo doctor. Like, he's going to be ageless and timeless. Like, he's going to be...
I always thought he looked too young for his age.
his voice, is just going to be like that forever. And I work with Paul Rugg, the voice of Freakazoid.
That was one of the last interviews I ever did on my own.
That's true.
Yeah, he's such a nice guy, and I always tell him, I actually gave him one of my Freakazoid shirt 2 weeks ago. I bought a Freakazoid shirt off of 80stees.com, and it was an all red shirt with the F and the exclamation point.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
I never wore it. I just bought it because if you look at my closet, I have nothing but a million novelty cartoon T-shirts in my closet right now. My girlfriend's gonna kill me.
Hey, we all have hobbies.
If there were an earthquake, I would die because I would be crushed by my T-shirt collection.
The cruel irony.
Yeah. I should have used fabric softener.
Maybe if I put one on, I'll become the hero I pretend to be.
Yeah. I gave Paul my shirt, my Freakazoid shirt, after owning it for so many years. I never wore it, and it was one of those weird moments where I'm like, I just gave Freakazoid his own shirt today at work.
Hope he fits in it.
Yeah, I told him, I'm like, oh man, like, wouldn't it be insane if you guys made like a special and he just said, it'd be so hard to get the right, because the rights are so divided between Warner's and Spielberg. It would be a tough thing to do for them to make like an Animaniacs special or something. But I feel like the world is missing. I feel bad for today's youth that they don't get a dose of Animaniacs every day after school,
Well, after the Hub turned into Discovery Family.
They change their names all the time.
Well, the Hub was Discovery first.
That's
right. But then it became the Hub, but then it was like kid stuff every day. Now it's kid stuffs until like 4 PM or something.
Well, that's about the time kids are, gone away.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because that's what happens when things that you're thinking down. There is no anticipation or waiting for something anymore. People with our little phones, we're so obsessed with just having everything fast. I think it takes a little bit away. I think a lot of people in our generation, are kind of trying to get back to the old school ways of putting the phone down every once in a while. It's kind of hard not to, though.
Going for the guy who's talking to us on his phone. Most of everything right now has been about revitalizing things from 10, 20 years ago.
Well, again, as I said with that Nicktoons movie, I keep looking at that and I'm saying, the only way that movie could work is if you had collaboration with all the creators, and knowing most of the people that worked at
there's no way they can get John Kay back.
John Kay, well, Jonan Vasquez is definitely not going to come back. Craig Bartlett, I don't think, would want to come back.
Well, to be fair, they're only focusing on the 90s because Invader Zim was 2000s.
Well, Klasky Shupo are definitely not going to come back, probably.
That's true. They've since separated. Craig Bartlett, I think, is working on a new contract, though. And I wanted to mention it back on the you mentioning the whole Rob Paulson thing. Controversially, as a diehard fan of Ninja Turtles, I actually like Rob more as Donnie than I did the original Rob.
Oh yeah, I do too.
Really?
Nice. I think, you know what? That's not a. I wouldn't say you're alone on that. I think there's like a lot of people that like. I mean, that's the cool thing about Rob or Mr. Paulson is that he's able to, even though the voices are like within a degree of each other, make an entirely new, different character. Like that's the sign of a real deal pro. When you might just be using the same voice, but it's like a different person and a different character, and it gives you different feelings when you hear it. And I do love Donatello on the show. To be honest, I was in the running for the Turtles when they were doing the original casting for that series. I was one of the last guys. And I think it's been on TV long enough, and I've worked with those guys long enough for me to say I was the last guys to voice Raphael in the pilot before it became series. And then they brought on
really?
Sean Astin. Oh, yeah.
Is there a way to give us a little taste of what your Raphael would have sounded like?
Yeah.
Well, it would have been like me, but like a tough guy, which is hard to believe, right?
A little. Just a little.
Yeah, what are you talking about, Don? What are you talking about, Mikey? Like, it would have been like that, like a tough guy voice. But it's
That's
really
not bad.
funny. One of the reasons why I didn't get it is because when we watched the animatic, I sounded very similar to Jason Biggs.
Really?
They said
An unusual
it's really
comparison.
strange. Yeah, they said it's really strange, but you know, your voice print is coming very close, even though it's a different attitude. It's coming very close to Jason, and I was like, well, yeah, I totally see where that could be, you know, trouble, and you know, obviously, look, you have a choice here, and you're telling me, like, if you can get one of the hobbits to be a Ninja Turtle, heck yeah, you're gonna take that chance. And, I mean, I work with John all the time. He does such a good job. His voice is so right for that character because he just sounds
that whole cast is great, really.
He sounds like a bully on the show, and it's so good because he's like just a nice guy. That's it, and I don't know. He's enjoyed it with him, and that gave me an original character. That's the other thing about like remakes and voice matching and all that stuff is like, yeah, I'm very happy and thankful to do stuff like and Turbo and you know, you get to be Gizmo Duck for a video game. But when phase of the show like this one, a new version of it comes along, and then they make a character like Tiger Claw, which, you know, if you think about it, it's like, okay, he's the serious and that is not like a bumbling idiot like Bebop or Betty. He needs one of those. It to me seemed like, you know, like a pretty expected character, but the fact that, I mean, he a lot of fans really dig him. Like there's like so much fan art out there of this character, and he's very well received. And my dream is that one day, years and years from now, when they remake this Turtles, that somebody gets
totally will.
Yeah, I just hope somebody gets a chance to voice Tiger Claw after me. I hope that he's a popular enough character for them to want to bring him back in another incarnation of the show. And I don't mind if either of you guys did the voice.
Oh.
Well, I think
I'm
the only,
honored.
the only voice I could take over would be the Krang that Gilbert Godfrey played. That would probably be the only one I'm good at.
See, now I'm thinking like, well, now I want to do my version of Tiger Claw, but Eric's here.
Dude, I'm like, you know, when you first get started in voice, and you want to book everything, right? But you can't book everything. It's impossible unless you're Tara Strong, and then you book everything.
or you're like Frank Welker.
Oh, it's not even that you book everything. You just are every sound in the universe.
Yeah.
When you're Frank, but
there's only one Paul Giamatti impersonator.
No. James Adomian, if you know him, he's a stand-up comic. He's like one of the first guys to physically do a Paul Giamatti. Like he does a physical like.
All right, fine. Then you're my favorite Paul Giamatti impersonator.
Yeah. But as far as voice matching, you know, I think Chris Edgerly had a stab at it for the Turbo video game, and he did a pretty good job.
It's decent. I heard it.
Okay, so you played the game.
Oh no, I haven't played the game.
Yeah.
They did a voice compare on BTVA for all the chat voice actors.
Okay, another BTVA plug.
Yeah.
One day I will be on the voice compare for some kind of Godfrey character.
Like, you have like a lot of things. Was there a voice match for Iago for any version of?
No, Gilbert's played him in everything. The only thing
Are you serious?
Yeah. I checked. The only character that Gilbert's not playing anymore is Dr. Bender on Fairly Odd Parents, which I guess I've heard, and I mean no disrespect to, I love Butch Hartman as an artist, but his Gilbert Gottfried's terrible.
I didn't think he. I don't remember him even trying to do Gilbert.
Well, he's doing like a weird sort of. It's like a half Gilbert, half Butch. Butch, give me a call. I'll help. I'm dead serious right here with Eric Bauza, the voice of Foop here. Foop. Butch, I'll do it for free.
Yeah, I had the honor of listening in on a Krang session because he was being recorded from New York, and we had him in via phone patch, and I heard him doing the Gilbert thing, and then I heard him not doing the Gilbert thing, and it was like so mind blowing because he does it on Stern all the time.
Yeah, it's normal,
very talking in his very normal, cool guy voice, and it's like very pleasant. He's very nice to talk to when he's not switched on, and when he switches on,
cool Gilbert mode.
It just goes bananas. It's just like magic. You're just like, oh my god, this is the voice this is the guy from Problem Child.
Yes, Father's a moron!
Yeah. Mr. Healy! Yeah, it's crazy.
That's not bad. Yeah. I think I've heard better, though.
Wow, that's really good, man.
Thank you. I get that all the time from everyone in the industry.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I keep blabbing on. I hope I'm not blabbing here, but
no, please blab. That's what makes these podcasts entertaining.
Was there anything that you guys wanted to cover, particularly in this portion, in this new interview? So we talked about a lot of things.
We did indeed. Michael does have a good one.
I had one more question. I've been asking this more since I've started this new show. I've always brought up what a favorite role for people is. I've always wondered, do you have a least favorite role?
Least favorite role, and
a role you didn't like, or like a role you just didn't care about as much.
I gotta tell you, and I say God bless the people that make it look so damn easy. And I am going back to the Steve Blooms and the just the people that make video games look so easy. I've never been a big video game booker, because it's hard work. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of really meaty stuff that you got to just make sound, natural. And I know it's all in a day's work for most voice actors, but it's just something that I've had opportunities and I've done video games. But if given the choice, I would sooner pick the voiceover booth for cartoons.
So you've never really enjoyed doing any video game work, really?
Well, it's I can't say that I haven't enjoyed it. The most fun I've ever had was working with Andrea Toyas on Blizzard stuff like World of Warcraft. But that's just a situation where the casting director knew specific things that I could do and based it off of that, and continued to hire me for quite some time after that. And I just feel like in the last 2 years, animation voice dominated my weeks when I go into work.
I guess it's safe to say you're not going to try out for the Final Fantasy VII remake, as I hope.
Yeah, I think I may have missed that boat, and that's fine. I just feel like animation, just strictly cartoons, has just been my thing, and I would love every opportunity to read for a lot of the stuff if they're willing to listen. And if somebody asks for me specifically to read for something, I'm always there to do that, whether or not it goes past that to the actual job, or if I'm just not really feeling it. There's a lot of stuff that I've missed out on just because I just wasn't I just didn't want to put myself in a situation where I knew I just wasn't, my whole heart was not into it. So, yeah, and I think that's kind
fair and reasonable.
I think that's good too, to protect yourself that way, because you don't want to like stretch. You don't want to like say I can do it all, and then like find out that you don't really like to do it all, and you're just like whoops, and then you just let people down. Yeah, I feel like that's although you could say a least favorite, it's also something that can protect you down the road.
I also saw like you did like some Marvel anime film a couple years ago, and was that a new experience? It was like this Iron Man film or something.
Oh yeah, I played. I actually did a couple, like two specific ones. One had Black Shadow and Punisher, and I was playing Amadeus Cho. And the other one I played Ezekiel Stane, the son of the bad guy from the first Iron Man movie.
Son of
right?
Jeff Bridges.
Yes, exactly. How fitting. But yeah, that was very cool because that definitely was like, I don't do like a lot of anime as well. But the director, Jamie Simone, does, the anime English dubs often. And for whatever reason, thought I would be good for this part. And it was very much like a meaty part and not like a cartoony performance at all, more or less just my own voice. And that got a lot of response, and I think a lot of people were like, oh, wow, like we weren't expecting him to do stuff like that. And if I had another opportunity for that, I would take it. But a lot of anime work out there is non-union, at least from what I've gathered. So I can't really go for, a majority of what people like, like the bigger titles. And I think it's because there's like a lot of volume, a lot of work goes into it. So yeah.
As you were also in that Miyazaki movie that Ghibli movie that came out last year. That Marnie.
Ghibli film?
Yeah, he was Marnie's dad in the new in that when Marnie was there.
Oh, yeah. One I missed.
Oh yeah, I guess it just got nominated for an Oscar, which is super cool. Yeah, another project where Jamie Simone once again has his go-to guys, and I'm so lucky because I work with him on Transformers as Drift, and I guess he knows my range well enough to say, okay, let's just get a bunch of actors in there. It was Kari Wahlgren. I know Gray did a major role. She was in
I heard Bob Bergen in that movie like 4 times.
Yeah, and he's
back in anime.
Yeah, exactly. He's done Ghibli movies before, right?
Yeah, he was Spirited Away. He was the frog.
That, right, he wasn't Spirited Away.
Yeah.
Who was Roger Bumpus?
I don't remember Roger Bumpus in that one.
Yeah, he's like the bellhop frog.
Oh yeah,
thing.
he was the guy that was always at the door or something.
Yeah. It's clearly Roger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is us. This is every day.
Yeah, we know who that is. We don't even have to look it up. But I mean, Bob Bergen started off in anime because I know he was in the original Akira dub back in '88 under a pseudonym.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, well, because like you said, it's non-union, so of course they couldn't use their real names. They did the same thing with the original Metal Gear Solid. Like all the actors had to use pseudonyms because it wasn't union.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are some things that you could let slide, or some things that you're doing. He may not have even been in the union yet, because it was so early on. So who knows?
That's true. That actually might be the case.
But yeah, I think there's plenty of work out there, all different kinds, and whatever you got to do, that week to survive. At the end of the day, a job's a job, and yeah, it's amazing how many different kinds of work you could fall into. But I've just seemed to have a lucky streak with animation, and I think that's where a lot of people that we all know and we all watch their careers find comfortability. You know, it's the 9 to 1 or 2 to 6 sessions, and it's a lot of work that a lot of people get exposed to. So instant like fans you could create if you're on a hit show.
Yeah,
I think it's good.
Yeah, before we wrap this up, I had one more question that I was curious about that I didn't get to ask last time.
God.
Oh, excuse me. These are all just coming to me right now. I was like, oh shit, I gotta ask him
No,
this.
proceed. It's your show too.
But on shows like Ben 10 Omniverse and Ninja Turtles, you play Ben 10 Omniverse, you're like 20 characters. But
yeah.
How does that work exactly? Is it like you're in the booth one day and they're just like, hey, can you play this too? Like, is that just how it works?
Yeah, I think especially on Ben 10, because there were so many people, a lot of people that were part of the original versions of the show, and it's funny how it's just like there's so many characters. They made it kind of endless. And in doing so over the years, you know, you can get variations on familiar characters. So it's funny, they'll bring back people that have been involved in the original, and then, you know, someone like Matt Youngberg and Derek Wyatt kind of like thought, oh, because they wanted me to be on Transformers Animated, and I never had a chance to do voices. I was supposed to be the twins. There were twins.
Oh, you were going to be, I think it was
Is it Mudflap?
Jetfire and Jet Warp. Jetfire and Jet Warp. They were like the
I was
Russian.
thinking Skids and Mudflap from Revenge of the
They
Fall.
were in the Transformers Animated. They were like these Russian twins that Tom Kenny and Phil Lamar played.
I barely remember.
They wanted me to do like Armenian twins is how they originally pitched it. And I never got around to getting in the booth there. But I mean, look, Phil Lamar, did he not play jazz?
Phil played jazz, yeah.
And Tom Kenny was Starscream.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're in the room already. So it's like, hey, can you give us this extra voice? Sure. So they did. And it's just like, of course you're going to get Phil and Tom to fill in the gaps, you know. It was very nice of them to consider me for it, and I was like, a chance to work with them. And then I never happened. And then suddenly Ben 10 Omniverse comes on, and then they're like, all right, now's your chance. And it's just like, that was a big thing for me because I knew how big Ben 10 was already. And Derek White was one of the first friends that I made in the United States in 1999 at my internship at Spumco. Another guy who I met that was just production, and now he's like one of the best designers in Hollywood, you know, like he's got such a fan base. I just always thought he could draw so well. And just given the chance, he's amazing. And Matt Youngberg is like another one of those guys who's just so generous. And, you know, he's working on some good stuff now too. He gave me a shot on Ben 10, and clearly you could see, like, wow, like I had, you said 20 different voices on that.
Well, show. You're like 7 or 8 different Omnitrix aliens for one.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, that's an honor right there, because I know like a lot of the people that did them before me are, you know, D. Bradley Baker, and I think Fred Tatasciore did some voices before.
Well, sure. I can actually, being as big of a nerd as I am, I can actually name every voice actor that played these characters before you.
Of course you can. We'll be here all day.
I know, Darren.
So.
Yeah. So yeah, it was. I think for the process for that, as far as like trying to predict which ones I could or couldn't do, I get contacted a day or two before the session, because a lot of the times when you create voices, as you may have heard, it's like a process that happens right then and there in the booth. They trust. They also don't want to keep it like so tight to one idea, because if you have ideas to bring to the table, they're very open. So they may give you a reference as a starting point, but it's up to you to either make that stick or go a completely different direction. So that's usually how that worked.
And I think I speak for both me and Michael when I say it was so great to speak to you again and have you on the new podcast.
Oh my God, I am so honored that you guys would remember to bring me back in and to know that you consider me like up there as far as like your favorite guests or people to watch. I think that that's the kindest thing, and again, I'm just honored, and hopefully one day I can get to meet you guys at these conventions. Or is there usually a local one by you guys?
Not in North Carolina. Again, the closest one is MomoCon and DragonCon.
There is one here, but I think it's a strictly anime. No, there is Phoenix Comic Con. I scratched that. Tara Strong's been there, so you got a shot with that, I suppose.
And again, MomoCon, Jim Cummings, Rob Paulson, Jess Harnell. Jim Cummings is coming this year again.
Wow.
Steve
another legend.
And Steve Blumenthal North, they're also coming.
Well, considering we have this podcast and it's where we love to, honestly, if it were up to me and Michael, we'd have you and Quentin Flynn on all the damn time.
We would make you like a third wheel.
Pretty much, yeah. Like our Andy Richter
awesome.
to our Conan O'Brien, or our Jeff Peterson to our Craig Ferguson, something like that.
Yeah, I would be honored.
We'll definitely consider it, and I want to say thanks to Michael for his patience and persistence to have Eric Bauza back, no matter
I've been trying to
wind, fire, whatever got in the way.
I kept saying I need Eric back.
I strongly supported his get Eric back hashtag. Get Eric back.
Bring our Bauza back.
I've been back, and I'll go only with the hopes that you'll have me back again for a third appearance.
Absolutely. But more importantly, thanks for your continuous busy schedule to even bother to come back to set.
Oh, no. Never too busy for you guys.
Oh, he's so special. Oh, he just went a notch above Quentin. Quentin, I know you're listening. Now you have to say something amazingly personal and special. There'll be like a bidding war between Eric and Quentin for favoritism.
Nice.
But
he wins already.
Anymore,
he wins.
He wins by being Reno. But
yeah.
I don't know. You were second, Snippy. I think you got something there. But all in all, don't want to. Neither one of us want to keep you any longer. But thanks again. And
thank you.
From me, from Michael, whatever you want to say, parting words to the great Eric Bauza. Oh, you miss him. You're tearing up. You're going to miss him. I'm going to miss him too.
Well, listen, I know I'm not an official voice of Daffy, but you have to watch that video where me and Kurt Russell. Did you guys see that?
No, what?
I did.
I don't think so.
Oh, look! Go, right when you hang up, go to YouTube and type in Kurt Russell Daffy Duck, and this thing from this radio show called Mark in the Morning will pop up, and enjoy. You could talk to me about it after the fact, but enjoy that clip. I'll leave you with that.
We will. We'll put a link in the description of the release of this as well.
And we'll send it. We'll send this interview to you when we have it up.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
We know the drill. Thank you all for listening to another episode of You Sound Familiar, the podcast that never has a set schedule, but screw it, it's entertaining anyway. Hope you enjoyed it, and please have a